It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
And so, goodbye. And good night. Bang!
Settle! Because I'm better than you, and you know it. Yes, man! What the Rock is cooking.
Now welcome to Off the Mats with Alex Slows and Josh Silverberg.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. We hope you had a good holiday and a very good special Christmas. It's Saturday. You know what that means. And it's time for Off the Mat here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm Alex Slows, and with me is my tag team partner up north in the Big Apple, Josh Silverberg. How's it going, Josh?
What's going on, man? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you had a great Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. I know you've been working your ass off the last couple of weeks for sure. So, but we're here. We're here to talk wrestling, man. It's going to be a great show. We got a special guest coming up in a few minutes.
Exactly. Stick with us here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network for an awesome show. But before we get started, we have to do our house cleaning. And that's tell our listeners and followers how they can tune in and access all of our shows here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Because it's not just us here on WWSRN. We have a variety of shows you can listen to. We have Down to the Wire with Speedy and Errol Marks, Below the Mic, The Weekend Crunch of Errol Marks and Josh Silverberg, The Ryan Hickey Show, The Wise Guys, Weapons Hot, The Sports Hit List, and so much more. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Off the Mat WWSRN, and follow me and Josh on our personal Twitters at Show Slows and at Josh Silverberg. Also, download the WWSRN app. It is absolutely free. You don't have to pay for anything, and it has all of the written articles that you can check out on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network website and blog. I just wrote two of them yesterday. They're not up there yet, but they will be in the next couple of days.
Sorry, Alex. Somebody wants to say Merry Christmas to everybody as well. That's Pedro. Pedro wants to say hi to everybody.
You can also get all of our shows with a push of a button. You can download the app in Google Play or from the Apple App Store. And please check out all the shows because, again, it's only going to get better here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network as we grow together. Now that we have wrapped up the house cleaning, it's time to get into AEW and NXT, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a special guest with us. He's here now with us. He was on our show a couple of weeks ago. You could join him. And he's going to go over his show that he wants to talk about. That's Mr. Phil Stamper. He's back with us. Phil, welcome back. First off, how are you doing? How was your holidays? And did you enjoy being with the family? Did you see the family at all?
I did. Fortunately, my immediate family is nearby, so they were able to come over. Was able to see them. It was a very good Christmas day.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So, I know Alex had the first question. He's dying to get your thoughts on with AEW and where they're going because there's so much. So, Alex, take it away for the first question, man.
So, the first match was Top Flight and Chris Jericho and MJF. What do you think about these two young, rising top talent tag team stars? Because Top Flight's they had an amazing performance against MJF and Chris Jericho, and the matchups have been very crazy because they put every ounce of their being into these matchups. Mm-hmm. These kids are very young, very energetic, they're quick, agile, and as brothers, they can really bring so much into matches. And what are your thoughts on how they have the chemistry and how they put all these matches together?
I mean, they had such an impressive match against Chris Jericho and MJF. They really pushed their own limits in that match, and it was so great to see them. I've known Donnie for a while now because he was wrestling as Airwolf, and so to be able to see him now in this tag team in AEW has just been so amazing.
For sure. Phil, I want to get your thoughts on Alex and I have touched on this. I would say we had a guest on, Lyle Gill, and he's actually going to be coming to our show in the next month, and we had him on last week, and we wanted to get his thoughts on this. And we both want to touch on this with you too. When you see in regards to the ratings and everything like that, and I know we touched on this a few weeks ago, AEW is still, even after the NBA, they still had better ratings than NXT did. And of course, I think one of the main components is Sting. When you get a wrestler like Sting on, it's like the legendary status and everything like that. And my question to you is, because I had an argument with a guy on Twitter about this, because he said that WWE does the same thing with legends, with Goldberg and stuff like that. And my counter argument was, well, Goldberg was on the show once, and then they kept bringing him back and back and back, and then they gave him a championship belt. Is AEW doing what they're doing with Sting completely different than what WWE does with their legends? Because WWE seems to, when they bring a legend back, like Batista and Goldberg, they oversaturate the show with that. Yeah. Whereas with Sting, it's kind of like they're not having him jump in and win a championship belt.
Right. And to that point too, Sting there actually has not greatly increased the bump for AEW. Now, last week's ratings were very weird because, like you said, it was after NBA, so maybe it did. I think this coming week, which again is sort of odd because we're in the middle of the holiday season, I want to see what happens this coming week, because then I think it's in its normal time.
It's back to normal time. I think they're doing what is it, Alex? I think they're doing, Phil, you might know this too, they're doing like a New Year's Bash kind of thing, I believe.
Yeah, they're doing a New Year's Bash kind of episode.
That's why I wasn't sure. I was like, is it still at 8? Is it going to be after again? Are they going to count down at midnight? Like, so I wasn't 100% sure. But, so that'll be interesting to see then where does that spike go. But part of, if you think about any television program ever, they get the nostalgia pop whenever they bring back like a character from the past. So whether it's, I'm trying to think of course, I'm a big like comic book nerd, so like I watch all the CW shows. So you're like, oh look, here's Oliver Queen back on Flash again. Oh, it's a crossover. Like, let's watch Flash. You're gonna see those things pop in and out. And so like, yeah, when WWE does it, because they're doing that the week after New Year's. I think that January 4th. They're doing
New Year's Evil, I believe it is. NXT is doing. You're talking about
New Year's Evil.
Yeah,
on Raw they're bringing like some legends back.
Oh yes. In 2 weeks they're doing the Legend show. I saw the ad for that. They were talking about it. Yes.
So, and people are like, oh, this is in response to this rumor that the USA Network wants more adult content because they're not doing as well in the ratings. At the same time, this is typically the time of year we get the legends coming back. January is typically the time of year where Vince goes on a little bit more of a hiatus and isn't as in-depthly involved with the running of WWE. And then we normally get better Raws during, I hate to say it, we get better Raws during January than we normally do the rest of the year. And that's typically because Vince is not necessarily as deeply involved as he normally is. I
agree. And then you have Triple H kind of taking the reins and leading the charge with the main roster in the back locker room, and just teaching these younger talent how to stay on top of these shows and really try to put everything together to the best of their ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next thing I wanted to get your thoughts on is this in regards to what AEW is doing. Look, you saw the Acclaimed get an opportunity instantly. And, generally I don't know if this is a thing that I think of. I don't know, Phil, if you do the same thing. I don't know if Alex does it. It's, oh God, this team just lost. Now they're never going to hear from them again. Usually like the WWE sense is great. Now they're going to be squashed to the bottom of the roster. Like we're hearing reports now that Aleister Black is possibly on his way out of WWE. He hasn't even come up in meetings.
No.
But it's a way that, I guess it's the way that the AEW does it, with the way that the talent lost, the way the Acclaim lost, where they look like $1 million, but they didn't win. When you see something like that, do you find it that AEW has more of a general path of, okay, this team lost, but they look like $1 million, whereas WWE, if somebody loses, like EC3, for example, got squashed his first week and you don't hear from him again?
So you have two different types of programming. You have WWE, which is more of a television program that features wrestling sometimes and not necessarily a wrestling program on TV, where AEW feels more like a wrestling program on TV. And to hear from both sets of people that I know in WWE and AEW about, well, what are the reflections of how things are being run, how they're like, it's much more relaxed in AEW, how they feel that they have an opportunity to give and share some of their points. AEW as a younger program is still trying to find a little bit of its legs. And I know that's weird because it's been on television now for a year and a half, but at the same time, a year of that year and a half, we've been dealing with the pandemic. So it's like things kind of frozen time for a lot of people. Ratings on television are largely down for sort of across the board on television. So it's sort of like they have this opportunity to play with a little bit, experiment a little bit, see where they can grow and where their strengths are. And so they have a little bit more room to play with because they're focusing on we're bringing up younger talent, where the WWE focus is not necessarily that.
For sure.
I agree. And we saw a lot of younger talent on this week's episode of Dynamite. And I like that AEW is pitching and giving younger talent opportunities and allowing them to grow, just like what we saw with Top Flight. And Josh, I gotta ask you a question about Top Flight, because do you think they're going to get a big challenge down the road? Do you see them going face to face against a really big tag team?
It's interesting. I want to get Phil's opinion on this even too, because that's a great question by you, Alex. It's the sense that what AEW is doing, it seems like they're taking these young kids and they're basically throwing them into the deep end. They're saying, okay, you've been on programming for what? I don't know, Phil, Alex. What have they been on programming for? A couple of weeks, weeks. And we're going to throw you with MJF and Chris Jericho. And we're going to say, take the reins, do what you got to do to make yourself good. And that's a testament to Cody and Tony Khan, because what they're saying is, we are trusting you with the ability to say, we know you're so talented. We want you to showcase that. Whereas, and NXT tries to do that at times. I know you guys see it. I'll ask you guys, I'll talk to you guys about this too. It's when you think of Austin Theory, they put him against Tommaso Ciampa when he first started and everything like that.
And then they put him against
it's different guys.
Kushida.
Yeah, it's different guys that when you see that, and it makes it interesting because basically that's Cody and Tony Khan saying, we believe in you guys. We're going to give you this opportunity. You've shown us something. And that's the thing. When you see, like, this goes back to my EC3 comment, right? Guys about how they didn't believe in EC3 when he came up to the main roster.
They didn't believe in EC3 at all.
EC3 is one of the best.
To really grow and really try his best to put on an amazing performance. They didn't allow him to do that at all.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. And Phil, and I brought it up to you before, it's the sense that EC3 was one of the best mic workers in the business. I mean, you've seen what he's done in Ring of Honor. Unfortunately, the COVID stuff happened, and he had to miss the show against it was a big match that he had against Jay Briscoe, and I think he missed an opportunity there, but we'll see. But it's AEW is basically showcasing their talent. They're showing the depth that they have. I don't think WWE does the same thing, because they put EC3 in a horrible scenario where they didn't let him do what he's successful at, right? Phil, you know, we talked about this weeks ago. It's mic work. And that's what EC3 is really talented at. And they didn't give him that showcase to do that.
This goes back to what Lyle said last week. It's all about mic work and putting on the best show you can. Because if you can do that and get yourself over with the crowd, then you're going to be in tip-top shape in no time flat.
Phil, what's your thoughts on with EC3 and everything like that?
EC3, sometimes when it comes to, bigger opportunities, it's all about the timing of everything. And I hate to say it because everybody, like you've said, he's so good on the mic and he's such a great talent. Why didn't the WWE work for him? At the same time, he walked in injured. He got further injured. He had I hate to say it, he had a disastrous match with Tyler Breeze. That was his fault. And that, like, it's sort of like, so, okay, this step didn't work. This step didn't work. This step didn't work.
No.
So from the WWE perspective, I can't understand, like, why would we give this guy a bigger platform and more opportunities if this is kind of what we're seeing out of him right now? I'm not saying that's his typical, and that is not his norm. And, you should look at then, his experience. He's from the WWE system. He's gone through their developmental system. So it's not like, oh, he was the TNA guy they brought in and he should, we'll get him there eventually. Yeah. And so he just had these trip ups that just didn't catch on for him and unfortunately worked against him. From that WWE machine.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, because it's interesting, and Alex, you know this about me, and Phil, I never, obviously, we've been only once before, but I was at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn when he had his match against Velveteen Dream, and I was with my friend Lyle, and I said to Lyle, this is going to be a show stealer. And Lyle asked me why, and I said, well, you got two charismatic personalities in the ring together, and I think this should mesh perfectly. Two things. First off, I went away with that match thinking, wow, that was so underwhelming. And with Velveteen Dream, obviously, everything that's happened in his personal life and everything going on, I mean, we won't even touch on that. Right. But, I mean, it should have been a success for him, one. I think the other problem, too, was when I go back to TakeOver Dallas, remember it was interesting. Shinsuke Nakamura, remember he debuted, you guys? You remember he debuted that? The problem was who else debuted that morning? It was Austin Aries. And it was almost like I look at it as too many cooks in the kitchen, where Austin Aries had no reaction to that night when he had his match, whereas Shinsuke Nakamura against Sami Zayn, people were ecstatic about it. Then they showed Bobby Roode. It takes away from things. I think that might have been the problem with I think it was bad timing for EC3, because you look at him in Ring of Honor, guys. I watch Ring of Honor. I know, Alex, you don't really watch it that much, but I watch Ring of Honor. Phil, I don't know how in tune with Ring of Honor you are. I think the product of Ring of Honor I think it's good. I think the problem is they've had a lot of bumps along the way, but you see how EC3 is. His promos with Jay Briscoe were really good leading up to his match. I mean, this is just something to me. It's like I look at it and I say, how did WWE miss it? But you know what? Phil just made me think. I didn't think about this. I had my blinders on. I think it could be partially because of him. He didn't have a great match with Tyler Breeze. His Velveteen Dream match. I said to my friend Lyle after the match, I went, wow, that was so underwhelming. I can't believe it. I mean, I just thought that would be a breakout match for him against Dream. He didn't fit NXT.
Yeah.
No. He didn't fit it. It looked kind of like wonky and weird. Like Ricochet, when he came, Ricochet fit it. He didn't fit the mold of what NXT is. And I said that for months about Kushida. I feel like Kushida has gotten lost in the shuffle, and he's one of the better wrestlers on the planet.
Yeah, he is one of the better wrestlers in NXT right now.
Yeah.
And I like what NXT has been doing with him now that they're focusing in on Kushida. And I think sometime soon he might get a title opportunity. Who knows? But he's one of my favorite athletes that we have on the NXT roster. He's very, very gifted, very talented. And one of my favorite things that I like about Kushida is he's quick, he's agile. He can catch you in like a moment's notice. And he's such a very well-trained athlete. And you see the matches that he's had with Tommaso Ciampa, with Velveteen Dream, and then I think he had one with Austin Theory. These matches were just unbelievable, and he puts on 5-star matches every time.
You know, for sure. Phil, I want to get your take on this because I asked Alex for his opinion on this 2 weeks ago. I don't want to say who said this because I don't want to put them on blast. Okay. I don't want to do that. Somebody said to me, and Alex, I remember this, the NXT Heavyweight Championship is a meaningless title because it hasn't been showcased enough in the last few months. And my rebuttal back to them was, well, it's kind of difficult because, and Alex is smiling. He knows what I'm talking about. My rebuttal back to that was, well, it's not fair because one, Keith Lee, I think, should have had a longer title reign. That was a killer. Karrion Kross won the title. He got hurt. Yeah. And then Finn Balor won the title. He got hurt. Is that a fair assessment to say that the title hasn't had any meaning to it when it's out of NXT's hands that they can't control when somebody gets hurt or not?
I mean, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, one, you can't control, when somebody gets hurt or not, and it at the same time, you have a challenge in where if somebody, let's say, got hurt with the Intercontinental title, typically then like the next week on Raw, they'll figure out like, oh, here's a random 4-way scramble that will figure out like who the next champion will be, or a mini tournament, or something along those lines. Where in NXT, typically then the holder of that championship ends up getting a main roster spot, ends up, if they do get hurt. So that title is sort of meant to be transitional. Really, technically, all championships are technically supposed to be transitional, but that one even more so. So, I mean, you hear it talked about in the, the spectrum of it, but it's not like Finn Balor can be there to defend it when he's hurt.
Yeah, a broken jaw.
Right. And then right after Karrion, right. And then after Karrion Kross had to
the shoulder.
Because he got hurt. So, it is hard, a little bit hard to put a lot of that focus on it when it's like, well, we can't so at the same time, then do what NXT does best. And that's really to showcase the strong talent levels that they have across the board. I mean, Raw didn't have a world champion on it for a year because they had given it to The Rock. And Brock was only around, maybe, was it 4 times in 19 in
you might be generous with that, saying 4 times he was around.
Right. So you can do it, and WWE has showed that you can do it, but still make it relevant and still make people talk about it. So it is possible. But it is in a difficult spot right now. You're right.
My thinking is when I think of what AEW is doing and what NXT is doing, I think NXT is, first off, I think Karrion Kross is going to grab the bull by the horns, and you're waiting for him to basically say, "This is my company." He should have happened before, and then the shoulder injury happened.
Right. I mean, I am 100% a Karrion. 100% a Karrion Kross guy.
Oh, so am I.
Him and I had an opportunity to work before. I managed him at Wrestling Revolver.
Really? I did not know this.
Yeah. So I'm all gung ho when it comes to things Karrion Kross. And unfortunately he got hurt. It was just a matter of, again, it's that whole timing issue. So now it's like, he's not rebuilding from scratch, but he has to showcase, like, I can come out of the gate from a situation where I was hurt and come out even stronger on the other side. And so that's now what he has to show to the world now.
So I'll ask Alex this too, and Phil, I want to get your take. When you see a person like Karrion Kross, it's interesting. Everybody thinks it's all Kross that's doing it. In your mind, though, and I don't think people are discussing this enough, when you add an element like Scarlett, that has to add a much more higher praise to the character because Scarlett sings the theme song.
Right.
I mean, that entrance alone, when I first saw the entrance, Alex and I talked about this on the show months ago. His entrance gravitates.
Yeah, it
the
really
dark screen, the smoke, and everything.
It gets your attention very quickly.
I mean, Scarlett adding an element to that, like you said, you managed him. At one point, doesn't that add a huge element to his character?
It does gigantically. Yeah. I mean, I think the WWE on Fox Twitter account tried to make a poll about a week ago that was like, what are the top wrestler entrances in 2020? And they put Karrion Kross on there.
He's number 1 in wrestling, in my opinion.
Right. And for them to do that when he's not even on Fox, he's not on the main roster. It's like at the moment that they posted it, he's not the NXT champion either. It's like, oh, wait a minute, they're talking about the NXT guy, not the guy on Fox. And I'm like, that's interesting that they're paying that much attention.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting.
I will go on about Karrion Kross for like hours if I need to. But.
Go, Alex.
The thing I like about Karrion Kross is he's like 6'5". He's like a monster in the ring. He's very talented, and you see what he's able to do in the ring. And with the match that we have coming up on New Year's Evil, I wonder if Damian Priest is going to be ready for this, because this is going to be a war. It's going to be a fight to the finish, and this will be a matchup where Damian Priest will be in the fight of his life. And I want to get Phil's comments on this, and Josh, your comments on this as well. Do you think Damian Priest has a chance to battle back and forth with somebody who is very strong and able to just toss you around the ring within seconds? Because I'm very interested. I'm very intrigued to see how Damian Priest is able to fire back in this one.
Mm-hmm. Worked with Damian Priest before too. And I
You
look
should
at
be the special referee then, Phil.
right. I mean, this would be that time that I'd be sitting there like,
can you make me the ref? Hello.
right. I mean, again, I have to say I am much more of a Karrion Kross guy, and I think this is the chance that if they're going to try to leverage, we need to put him in a stronger position of power, and like, okay, he's coming back off this injury, like this is the match where he can showcase that he's punishing. Can take punishment too, because Damian Priest, excuse me, I just blended them. Damian Priest isn't going to give Karrion a lot of room,
No.
and so it's going to be hard hitting. It should be hard hitting. It should be really aggressive, which we have seen both of these guys do in the ring. And in a respective, like Priest is sort of the odd man out in this occasion, just because he's in a position where he's also a face at NXT right now. And so, like, he has to be the sympathetic guy, which can sometimes be challenging when you're also trying to juxtapose, like, I need to be the super aggressive guy willing to dish out all the punishment, no pun intended, that I can give out. And again, against Damian, I was just about
Going back to those Ring of Honor days. I was gonna before, because we gotta let you go in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and I'm sure Alex will be intrigued by this too. What's your thought on the cross promotion of AEW and Impact? You're clearly seeing with Don Callis and Kenny Omega doing what they're doing. They brought back the cleaner character, which was such a much needed facelift for Kenny, because I felt he looked very lost and dry.
Yeah,
since AEW happened.
For a while, Kenny Omega looked very dry and like lost in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think separating him from Hangman Adam Page and allowing him to go his own way was the right move.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the heel character being back the way he was, and of course having the Good Brothers, which I would imagine would probably have something to do with AEW and everything like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a long time, this has been, I mean, the little pieces I know about.
Did you manage Kenny Omega also?
No, I did not. No, I did not. I did work with him like 10 years ago at a company in New York called Pro Wrestling Syndicate. Like,
Okay.
and so at that time, a young Kenny Omega that not many people knew about, and very quickly, you know, rose to the Kenny Omega that we know. The challenge of Kenny Omega in a mainstream audience situation is that the American mainstream audience doesn't really know Kenny Omega. Like the New Japan audience that got to see him rise up and even before that he was at DDT. So like the Japan audience that got to see him rise up from obscurity and become Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, a mainstream name in Japan. Like he's selling food in Japan. Like he's a guy on commercials.
He wrestled like, I think, a 5-year-old girl once or something like that. In a match, I think he did that too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He was he went from being the goof of the King of the Anywhere match, where it was like, I'll wrestle in a street, I'll wrestle in somebody's backyard,
I'll wrestle anywhere you tell me to,
right, against a blow up doll, like, and put on a 5-star match against a blow up doll. He hasn't done that in America. So the American mainstream audience, so I'm talking like the folks who typically turn in once a week, maybe a couple times a week, maybe not people who all have the network, you know, people who are like casual wrestling fans might not really know who this Kenny Omega guy is. And for a year, we've seen him at AEW, and I feel like he's been used as this guy to come in and be like, well, I'm the main event guy, without showing yet why he's the main event guy. And that's unfortunate because Kenny Omega is a guy. Like, he's the guy.
Yeah, he is really the top deal in AEW right now. Like, you saw the performance he put on against Jon Moxley, and then next week he's going to have a match against Rey Fenix, which will be very interesting because I want to see how that match goes. And you heard what Kenny Omega said in the promo with Don Callis. He basically said that Rey Fenix is a joke. There's no way he's going to be able to be able to come back and really put on a good match against Kenny Omega. Yeah. But you look at Rey Fenix. There's a lot he's done in his career. He was in Lucha Underground for a little bit, and then
AAA. He's in
AAA,
Impact.
You see all the matches he's put on in those promotions, and you're just like, wow, this guy really has so much he can do. And I believe the fans are really going to enjoy this matchup. This matchup's going to be great.
So from a larger perspective too, and I'm trying to be, my brain's like, caution warning sign, Phil, because maybe I shouldn't give too much away. But the people I know across the board at Impact, at AEW, who have for years, I mean, before AEW got its start,
give
as
everything
AEW,
you want away. By the way, give everything you want away. I want that content.
Right. People have been sort of pushing behind the scenes for an opportunity to do some of this crossover. And it isn't just Kenny and Don. It is culminated to where now we're seeing Kenny and Don. But you're talking like Chris Jericho has said, like, wait a minute, we're still this younger startup company. Why don't we work with the number 2 company in the world, which is
Is this going to be a partnership, Phil?
I don't think it's going to go that far.
Okay.
And there's a particular reason for it, and that's largely because whenever you see an invasion angle, it never works out for all parties equally.
No.
Somebody normally has to eat a bag of S. Like it doesn't work for everybody in that respect.
Gotcha.
But doing it in a way that showcases talent, that's like, hey, let's do a little, cross collaboration on this one-off match over here. Let's do a promo with these guys. Like, I'm liking the fact that Impact's going to have this combination of people from Impact and AEW in one match. And at one point when I saw like, oh, they're going to bring the Good Brothers in and they're going to work the Young Bucks over at AEW. I remember that was the rumor that was out there like a couple weeks ago. And now it's like, well, no, now it's morphed into this. It's going to be the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann. And now my brain's gone. I can't remember who's going to be.
Rich Swann, Mo City Machine Guns.
Thank you.
There you go.
That's going to be a phenomenal match.
That's going to be a phenomenal match.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a crazy matchup. I've heard so much about the Motor City Machine Guns, but I've never once seen one of their matches. But
really?
You know Alex, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, Phil could attest to this, are, in my opinion, one of the most athletic, underrated tag teams you'll see. They can work.
I don't think they're underrated, though. Like, I think they're
the funny thing is we say that, but the thing is I don't think enough people know who they are, which is the unfortunate thing, because Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley are two guys that have, I mean, oh my God! I was at TNA Lockdown 2005 when Chris Sabin was a young X Division wrestler, and he's wrestling a young Frankie Kazarian, and all that.
I do.
Frankie's never been around.
I do remember.
No, I know that, right? Like Diamond Dallas Page, right?
Right.
I do remember seeing an episode of TNA where 3D took on Motor City Machine Guns. That was a really good matchup, and it was a very physical matchup. Because at the time, Bully Ray was forming into this character, being a part of Aces and Eights, and really trying to go a separate route and go into singles competition, and then have Devon go the other way into Aces and Eights as well. So that was a really good match to watch and like learn from, because it's 3Ds. They've been in so many promotions, WWE, ECW. There's just a lot that they've done in their career, and when they fought the Motor City Machine Guns, they matched up perfectly in that matchup.
No, for sure. All right, Phil, unfortunately, we are out of time, so we do have to let you go. But first off, before we let you go, please tell the fans how they can check you out, how they can follow you on social media, and the fact that we would love to have you back on the show again in future episodes.
Absolutely. You can follow me on social media at PS Phenom. That's Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is. I'm there at PS Phenom, PSPHENOM. Thursday nights, I host a independent wrestling stream on my Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels at 8 p.m. every Thursday night. That just showcases different promotions from especially around the United States, as well as different talent that maybe you haven't seen before. So check that out on Thursday nights. And then also, I maintain the content on WrestlingCalendar.com, which has a listing of upcoming independent wrestling dates. So check out WrestlingCalendar.com if you're looking for an event in your area.
Awesome. Phil Stamper, ladies and gentlemen. Give a round of applause for Phil, man. Awesome job, dude. Always a pleasure. We got to talk off the air about where you got that chair from. I need one of those chairs. It's like a gamer chair. I need one of those chairs for sure. But Phil, thank you so much. Listen, if we don't speak to you, have a happy and healthy new year. Let's hope 2021 is much better than this past year, because this past year sucked. Right. And we'll talk to you soon. All right, man?
Sounds good. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. When we come back, Alex, take it away for when we come back. Let the fans know what we're doing.
When we come back in the second half, we have Slam of the Week, our TLC review, Flashback Saturday, and the finishing move. That is up next here on Off the Mat on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Everybody's got a price. Rest in peace.
Welcome back to Off the Mats with Alex Lowe's and Josh Silverberg.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second half of Off the Mat here every Saturday at 12 o'clock on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Alex alluded to it earlier. I'll say it again. Download our app. It is very simple. It's free. There is no charge. You can check out our show schedules. If you missed the show, rewatch it on the podcast. You can check out the clips. We have some good ones Alex just posted from our show last week. Well, how do you download the app? People say, well, it's very simple. You go to the Apple Store. If you have an iPhone, you type in WWSRN. If you have an Android, which I know I do, you go to the Google Play Store and you type in Worldwide Sports Radio. Check out our brand new website, worldwidesportsradio.com. Alex wrote 2 awesome articles, I believe, this past week. Are they up yet, Alex? Or
They're not up yet, but they will be.
They will be up next week, so you're going to want to check that out for sure. And that's how you check us out, man. It's so simple. You have all the shows Alex mentioned earlier. It's good stuff, and we're just growing and getting better each and every single day. Well, we had Phil Stamper on. We went a little over the time, but that's okay. So what we'll do is we're going to get into our new segments. We'll condense our recap of TLC, which I thought was a pretty good show.
Yeah, it was very good.
So I know Alex really wants to get into the new segments that we were talking about, everything like that. So let's start it up, Alex, man. Let's go.
Yeah, it's time for our Slam of the Week. The Slam of the Week goes to the Young Bucks for their impressive crossbody neckbreaker combo that they put on the Acclaimed. And I must say, the Young Bucks have been doing an awesome job as the AEW World Tag Team Champions. They have defeated the likes of Top Flight, TH2, and now the Acclaimed. And Josh, which finisher from the Young Bucks is your favorite, and which brother, in your opinion, has the most skill?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to get to ask Phil that. Actually, that's a great question. Because I'm a Lucha Brothers fan, and of course, the more popular Lucha Brother is who, Alex?
Oh, this is the Young Bucks.
No. I'm saying no. I'm just giving you an example. Who, in your opinion, is the more popular? Because it's going to get to my point. It's Penta. But Rey Fenix, to me, is the better wrestler. So it's funny, with the Young Bucks, it's kind of similar. Matt is the more popular wrestler. Nick is the better wrestler. That it's kind of, you notice the trend, kind of, it looks that way. So for me, I think Nick is the more talented wrestler. I think Matt is the more popular wrestler because he's a little better on the mic. He's got a little more personality than Nick does. But Nick is the better wrestler. I think he's the more talented. He's also younger than Matt, so I think that helps. So that was what my point was with the Lucha Brothers, is that Penta is the more popular wrestler because, he's got the mask, the face paint, blah, blah, blah. But Rey Fenix is the more athletic wrestler. So that's why I was trying to get it with the two. I tried to put the two of them together. My favorite move for the BTE trigger is, when you see something like that, it's an awesome move. It's so much fun. I also like when Matt does he does like the suplexes when he goes 2 or 3 times in a row
on the ramp.
Love the Meltzer driver, and I love that they call it that because, of course, they're best friends with Dave Meltzer because Dave Meltzer also kisses their ass so much. So that's really what it comes down to. So that's where it is for me. The Slam of the Week, I'm going to give it to Pac with his 450 splash that he did from the turnbuckle on to the Butcher it was the Butcher he fought. So I give it to Pac being back. It seems like they have a little chemistry with Lance Archer now. He and Penta, Phoenix was preparing for his match next week. So that was my favorite move. And essentially the Slam of the Week is what, Alex, if you want to describe it to the fans, what the
Slam of the Week is we pick a finishing move or a move that we thought was really cool and awesome in one of the matches this week, and we describe it and really break it down.
Absolutely. All right, Alex, let's get right into it because we got to kind of speed rush through this.
Yeah, it is time for our tables, ladders, and chairs review. And I got to say, the Firefly Inferno match was phenomenal. It was like the best creative match I've seen in 2020 going to the end of the year. It had a lot of different like twists and turns to it. And I loved how WWE had Orton go to that place in his head in the matchup where fire was being engulfed all around the ring. You had him set up to where it looked like he had killed off The Fiend. And I don't think The Fiend's dead. I think The Fiend is going to come back stronger than ever. And Randy Orton's going to have to be prepared for what's coming.
I agree with you. And it's interesting because when the Firefly Inferno match started, I was questioning. I said, okay, where's the fire? Like, where is it located? It's supposed to be an Inferno match, but there's no fire. And also the fire comes on the outside of the ring, which I thought was a little interesting. I don't know if it's the most creative yet. I'm still going to give it to when the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and Matt Hardy fought the Inner Circle in the what was that match that they fought them in on the football field and everything like that? I forget. Excuse me on that one.
I forget what match that was.
I remember what the match is called, but I still give it to them with that. But I think I texted you after the match, Alex. I think I said to you, well, clearly they wanted edgier content. Well, they got a guy burning on fire alive, so clearly they got edgier content. I don't think you could get almost edgier than that unless you want to show a woman's breast on the air, or you want to show Speedy not shaving down below. Nobody wants to see that, that's for sure. But that's really what it comes down to, right? It's creativity, and that's something that the USA Network has been preaching to WWE for quite some time. It's why are we not getting edgier content? Well, the problem is that WWE is PG because they want to keep the kids involved.
Yeah, they want to keep the kids involved in the viewership and really connect.
That's exactly it. So they got to pick and choose what they want to make that's edgier. So that was something I thought it was good. I thought it was very good. I liked the ending and the storyline is very good.
The commentators did a really good job making the match feel realistic. And it really made me feel a part of the match as if I was there watching it live.
Well, you could get there, Alex. You just got to go on the Thunderdome thing, and you got to be on your phone for whole hours. I don't think anybody really wants to do that. Well, at least I know. I'll lose my patience. I got to be on my phone like this. Oh, wow, that's great. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody. I damn sure don't have the patience for that. But I thought Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, I thought was a really good match. They're getting Jey Uso involved.
Having Jey Uso in the mix, I think it's going to work out for him. And I want to see Jey Uso have a title opportunity down the road.
Well, he had two of them. That's the thing, though, is that he had two of them.
Yeah, he already had two of them, but now they're kind of like pushing him into the head of the table gimmick with Roman.
He's Roman's lackey.
Yeah, he's Roman's Roman's.
He's servant. That's essentially what he's. Roman's servant. I actually thought a match that really, to me, surprised me for being really good was Sasha Banks Carmella. I was quite surprised. I really did not expect anything out of that, and I was entertained by it. I thought that was easily Carmella's best match that she's had in WWE. She's come strides in a long way, and she's taken the bull by the horns with the character that she's become. Because look, they tried to do that with Tenille Dashwood a couple of years ago, and they were like, "No, this is not going to work with her." And they went back to her "It's Always About Me" Emma character. But it seems like Carmella's really taken it, and then
going back to the Universal Championship match. This was by far Kevin Owens. It was his best performance in a long time. He made a huge effort to try and win, and he brought a huge battle to Roman Reigns. And Kevin knew it was going to take every ounce of his being to try and defeat Roman Reigns. But the numbers game eventually caught up with him, and Jey Uso got involved and really eventually got caught up with Kevin Owens. But what I liked about this match was Kevin was very he kept his eye on the ball the whole time. Like when Roman Reigns came to the outside and he was like, "Come on, Roman, come on." And Roman went for the spear and he just got out of the way in the nick of time and he went right through the sidewall.
Well, you know me. I'm a very big Kevin Owens fan. I think Kevin Owens has the ability to be able to work with anybody, and I think he's somebody that has grown in this company. Look, from when he first came up, he was big when he was Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor. I know, Alex, like I said, you don't watch Ring of Honor, but I always say check out some of the stuff. When he was Kevin Steen over in Ring of Honor, he was big, and then NXT, he was huge. He was champion. Look, he came on Raw, and 2 weeks later, he beat John Cena. I mean, that's about as big of a push as you're going to get. And then really quick before we get to our next segment, did you like McIntyre Styles?
Oh, yeah, that was a really good match. The WWE Championship match between Drew McIntyre was good. The only thing that really didn't make sense to me is The Miz tried to cash in his Money in the Bank and then he lost it. I don't think WWE made the right decision having The Miz cash in his Money in a Bank contract that early. I think they should have waited until after the Royal Rumble to have him cash it in. I'm
glad you brought that up, Alex. I think that's a great point because when you think about, first of all, I think the whole Money in the Bank for the men's side was a mess.
Yeah, it was.
It was a disaster. I mean, Otis winning it, then losing it to The Miz, then The Miz wins it, and then The Miz loses in the match. I think the whole thing was just all over the place, and it was to me, it looked like it was like a car wreck.
Yeah, it was
just a mess. It was a disaster.
Awful.
None of it made sense.
No.
And to me, I felt, wow, okay, Otis shouldn't have won it in the first place. I couldn't believe that they let him win it with Daniel Bryan, with Aleister Black, and with AJ Styles in the match. And out of all the people, you pick Otis to win that match. I thought that was a complete botch on their part. And I really don't care if Otis gets upset about what I say. Otis is probably never going to be on our show anyway, so I could give a damn, honestly. I think he's a talentless guy. I don't think he has any talent. I think he's a guy that's overrated. And then they gave it to The Miz, and I said, oh, okay. All right, let's see where this goes. He cashes it in, and then he loses it. And I'm just like, the whole thing was a mess. I look at it. Alex, you tell me if you agree or not. Hear me out for a second, okay? I don't think they had a set plan.
No, WWE did not have a plan for this Money in the Bank contract at all. And I think where they messed up was giving Otis the Money in the Bank contract. I feel like it could have played a different. It could have played out a different way. It could have went a different route. And I think it should have been they should have had either Daniel Bryan or The Miz win it in the first place.
No, they should have had Aleister Black win it in the first place. That's what they should have done. Aleister Black had just come up from NXT. I think that's the guy they should have had win it. And certain guys don't need it, Alex. Like AJ Styles doesn't.
People don't need it.
AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, they don't need it. Aleister Black to me is a guy that could have used it because he was so over at that point. And to me, I think they missed the boat with that. Let's get to your next segment, man, because I know you're ecstatic about this next segment.
Yeah, so my next segment is a segment that we're calling Flashback Saturday.
Love it.
It was NXT TakeOver Phoenix 2019. So when last year when Mauro Ranallo was on the commentary team with Nigel McGuinness and Percy Watson.
A+ commentary, by the way.
Yeah, it was phenomenal commentary. Like, Mauro was one of my favorite commentators on NXT. He was one of those guys who showed really good facial expressions. Like, if you go to WWE's YouTube channel and look up one of Mauro Ranallo's videos of him doing commentary live, he just put so much into his voice, and you could tell that Mauro had so much passion for the wrestling business. And then when WWE announced that he would be parting ways with NXT.
Second time, by the way.
Yeah, it was just something that it destroyed me inside, because as someone who's a wrestling fan and loves wrestling and wants to be a commentator himself, this was somebody I could listen to and learn from. And he was great when delivering lines like talk about a malfunction at the junction, spinning back fist, what the hell. All those different lines that he just came up with and threw into matches, it made it so exciting and interesting.
It did. And you know what? That's the thing about Mauro, that he I have a shirt. You know this. I have a shirt that says the Mauro Ranallo shirt that NXT was selling. The thing is, with Mauro and Nigel McGuinness, that was an A+ commentary team. I like where they're going with Wade Barrett being back and everything like that. To me, it's Beth Phoenix just really doesn't gravitate to me. I think she's somebody that doesn't like personality. This is no disrespect to her. To me, she's just somebody, her comments are cliches and drives me nuts.
And then you have the other guy, I forget his name.
Percy Watson.
No, not Percy
Oh,
Watson.
the new guy. Oh, Vic.
Vic Joseph.
Vic Joseph. Vic Joseph is getting better.
He's getting better. I think it's just going to take time for him.
He was on NXT UK. So
yeah.
So that's where they
take some more build up in time and just learning from Wade Barrett to really grow and show that he's a really good commentator.
Oh,
and
Barrett's great. He was
Barrett
so good on NWA. He was phenomenal as a commentator.
There's a lot that Vic Joseph can learn from Wade Barrett, and listening to the other commentators from the past, like Marinado, even going way back, Vince McMahon.
He was so. Let me tell you, Vince McMahon, in my opinion, one of the most underrated announcers ever. Gravitated to me.
If you go back and listen to all those commentators, there's so much you can pick up from them.
Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan.
Bobby
comedian. It's comedy with those two, with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. It was perfect. All right, Alex, let's get to our. I can't believe it's already time.
It's already time. It's time to get to our finishing move. And my finishing move is Wrestle Kingdom 15 is around the corner. It's coming up very quickly, January 4th and 5th. And Kota Ibushi will be taking on Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championship. And I think Kota Ibushi is going to be the one to beat Naito in a very big way on New Japan's grandest stage. And I cannot wait for this matchup. I'm very ecstatic about this matchup.
For sure. And you know what, Alex, if you don't mind, I'm going to piggyback off of you, and I'll do that finishing move as well for Wrestle Kingdom. But I mean, we're going to preview it in the next couple of weeks. So for me, the match that stands out is Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada. I think that has a shot to be match of the year early on in 2021. I think when you put those two in the ring together, it's going to be magic because, look, Okada can wrestle a sex doll, and it would be a 5-star match, okay? That's what it is. And Will Ospreay has slowly become a household name. He's a guy that if you're a New Japan fan, you gravitate. I remember I went to the Supercard show last year at the Garden, and I was the only one that I saw at MSG wearing a Will Ospreay shirt. And I was wearing his original first Will Ospreay shirt they sold at Hot Topic with the English flag behind him and, you know, the British flag behind him. So to me, he's somebody that I have followed for a long time. Him being a heel now is really good. Jeff Cobb has joined the group with the Great O'Khan. You know, they've made this faction together. It sucks that it's going to be during the week, but it is a tradition they have. They always keep it on the 4th and the 5th. So I'm definitely not going to stay up. I did it last year with Lyle. I stayed up all night to watch night 1, and I fell asleep all the rest of the day, and I said I'm never doing that again. So I watched it. I watched night 2 the next day, rested, it felt good. I said, wow, this is so much better. This is so much better than staying up all night and watching it. Some people can. I cannot. So, but
I don't think I could stay up and
no,
don't
take it from me, Alex. Don't do it. But first off, that's the end of our show. Thanks to Phil for joining us again. Alex, if you want to tell the fans how they can listen to us and tell the fans about our app again and everything like that, man, take the show away.
So our fans can follow us personally. You can follow me personally at Show Slows. You can follow Josh at Josh Silverberg. Make sure to follow the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Twitter at WWSRN_radio. Also, check out the Facebook page and website for the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, again for listening to our show. We hope you had a safe and healthy holiday. We hope you enjoyed your time with your families. And we'll see you again next Saturday, but I won't be here. I'll be on vacation.
Yeah, so
Josh is going to take over with Lyle Gillen.
Yeah, so pretty much what's going to happen is Alex will not be here next week. I will be on with Lyle Gillen is going to be my special guest co-host with me. And Alex will be back the week after that, and we're going to preview Wrestle Kingdom, he and I, next week, and then Alex and I will recap it. But as Alex said, we hope you enjoyed time with your families. Listen, have a happy and healthy new year. Enjoy it. Be safe. Alex, to you and your family, have a happy and healthy new year as well.
Thank you.
Enjoy it with your families. Be
You as
safe.
well.
Thank you. Have fun. And we will see all of you next year. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend, and thanks for tuning in. This is Off the Mound, the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll see everybody next year. Take care.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.